Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this roundtable. Like my two colleagues, I was involved in the ECI. Let me start also with some reflections, a bit like Gerard. We have a problem, it is clear, in Europe at the moment, but it is not only a problem with regard to European politics, we see it at national level as well. There is a disillusionment with elected representatives. We see it starkly in the levels of participation in our European Parliament elections, but it's not exclusively our problem. There is a greater need for involvement, but that need for involvement becomes even more desperate, if I can put it that way, at a European level, because people feel the distance from the decision-making process. It's also clear that each and every one of our governments has made an offer to its nationals of freedom of movement. Yet when they take up that offer of freedom of movement, it's not always clear that their rights of participation in the political process go with them. And that is something we have to address. But I think we should not become so hung up about political involvement being limited to participation in representative elections every 5 years. We know that you can participate in the policy-making process, in the agenda-making process, in many other different ways. And I just want us to consider that for a moment before I make some comments about the ECI. I think we don't recognise sufficiently the work that has gone on at European level to try to allow greater participation. For instance, something I know very well to do with the work that we have done at the moment on transparency of the legislative process, making sure that at European level we have a register of lobbyists so that our citizens can see who is participating in the policy-making process, and they too can become more involved. And that's not just limited to citizens. You don't have to be a citizen to become involved in lobbying your MEP or lobbying the Commission. So that participation is available on a wide level, and we have to facilitate it even more. Likewise, the possibility of petitioning this Parliament. That is available to all residents of the Union. We, many of us as parliamentarians, wanted the right to participate in an ECI to be available to all residents. We didn't succeed yet, but that's maybe an agenda for later. So it's not just at election time that people can use their political rights. And again, I want us to stop and think for a moment about what we have been able to create in terms of the European Citizens' Initiative. And I want to be a bit naughty, perhaps, to Michael, and compare it to something in the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, we've just had set up what's called an e-petition system. Sounds good, huh? An e-petition system. It wasn't even discussed in our Parliament. No discussion. It just suddenly appeared out of the ether. So nobody had thought very carefully about the rules for how it would work. It basically says anybody can start an e-petition on absolutely anything they like. Have a look at the website. They've taken that offer up. There are petitions on all sorts of crazy things. And things that go against treaty obligations in the United Kingdom, things that go against human rights. Because nobody really thought this through. We did do that here at European level. Likewise, this e-petition system, it said you had to get 100,000 e-signatures within a year, and then you would get, wait for it, a debate in Parliament. That's all you were promised, a debate in Parliament. So some of you may know, one of these petitions was successful. It asked for a referendum on the United Kingdom's membership of the European Union, a simple in-out referendum. They got their signatures and they got their debate, but lo and behold, they also got a vote. Now, nobody ever said you would get a vote in Parliament if you got those signatures, and that vote tied all the major political parties up in chaos, because nobody had ever expected that it would result in a vote. And you had the vote, and the vote was actually against the petition. So you got a whole lot of people who participated in an e-petition, who've gone away frustrated and annoyed, because on the one level they got more than what they asked for, but on the other level they got a result that they didn't want. And so they were offered some participation, but in fact that participation was withdrawn, because nobody had thought about how the system was to be used or in fact designed. Whereas at least what you have got at a European level is a system that is properly designed, and a system that when you get all your signatures, then you get a proper dialogue with the Commission, which is after all the executive. You get a hearing in the European Parliament, proper consideration of the options, and then it may be that the result is a legislative process. The system that we have devised gives citizens as much right as we, the European Parliament, have in terms of pushing the Commission. So I think that's a much better devised system, much more participative than some systems that are being thought up literally on the hoof in member states. Yes, it might look as though it's a system here in the European Union that's only going to be used by NGOs. I don't actually think that's the case. Like Gerard, people have come to me with ideas that are separate from, the big NGOs. But I don't have a problem, because if a good, well-known international NGO works and produces a successful ECI, that will enhance and encourage other people to participate in the process. So let's keep beating ourselves up at European level. I think we've actually taken a positive step on the road towards better participation in the democratic process at a European level. Yes, we can do a lot more, but it ain't a bad first step.